Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make some mini hanging plants. They could be a charm for your car, for your bag, a Christmas tree decoration. I'm going to show you step by step how I create them in case you'd like to have a go yourself. This is actually the first time I've ever made these, but I did have fun making them and I'm quite pleased with how they turned out. I have used Fimo clay before. I made a Christmas decoration of Marvin a couple of years ago. I had quite a bit of the Fimo or Primo clay left over from when I made this, so I thought it would be really fun to have a new project. So before I go through the whole process with you, a few things that you're going to need. The first thing being Primo or Fimo clay in various colours. You're going to need some wire. This wire is 1.5mm thick, I believe. This looked quite a bit darker on the picture when I ordered it, but it's still quite nice anyway. You're going to need some mini terracotta pots. These are really tiny. These are 3cm by 3.5cm. You can get them in various sizes and I bought these off Amazon. I'll link them below for you because I'm really pleased with the quality. I did look at quite a few different ones and some of them didn't look that great. You're going to need some sculpting tools, a scalpel, some wire cutters, a mini rolling pin to roll out the clay, some split rings. I got these off eBay and these are 35mm diameter. You could get away with using slightly smaller ones. Some string, this is 1.5mm thick, some sphagnum moss, some Oasis Floristry sponge or foam, acrylic paints. I use Daler Rowney System 3. These are pretty old to be honest, but they're still doing all right. And some paint brushes. Again, these are super old, so I could do with getting some new ones, but just been using what I had. I think that's everything, so let's get into how you can make your own mini hanging plant. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to sculpt a leaf. I'm using a mixture of these two colours, and I also thought it would be fun to put in a bit of glitter. So I'm just going to be using some green loose glitter. So once you've mixed up your clay to the desired colour, just mixing the glitter into the clay. Be prepared to get glitter everywhere. Here's one that I've already made. I just literally cut the shape out from memory, but to make things a bit easier, I'd recommend getting up a picture on your phone or your laptop for reference. There's no glitter in this one, so I'm just going to make a similar shaped regale with this piece of clay. So first of all, you're going to need to use a mini rolling pin. This one's made out of acrylic. And then I'm just going to use my scalpel to draw out the shape. And then I'm going to transfer this onto some greaseproof paper. Sometimes you might need to use a blade to scrape the clay off of your surface. I had to do that with some of the other leaves. I just find it's a bit easier to work with once it's on this greaseproof paper. So I'm just smoothing out the edges. Once it's actually been baked, you can use a scalpel to kind of carve the edges of the leaf, and you can also sand it as well. I'm going to use one of these sculpting tools to scribe in the veining. I used to have loads of sculpting tools, but I don't know where they've gone. So this now goes on a baking tray on low heat for 15 to 30 minutes. To give the leaf a bit of movement rather than just being completely flat, what I did was I just rolled up a couple of bits of clay and then I just placed them under the leaf, like so, just pressed in the middle like that. Next up, I'm going to show you how I painted the leaves. Rather than scribing in the veining, you could actually just paint it in like I did with this begonia. And then after that, I'll show you how to make the mini macrame hanger. So next I need to bulk out the plant pots so that there's something inside for the plants to be attached to. So I'm just using some of the Oasis foam, just cutting it up into small bits, and then I'm just gluing it into the pot. I've used No More Nails, but you could use PVA or a glue gun. At the bottom I've put a little bit of moss, just so that if you are viewing it from the bottom you see moss and not the foam or glue or anything like that. To dress the top of the pot once the plants are inside to hide the foam, I'm going to be using sphagnum moss, but you could use some fine gravel. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill all the pots with the sponge. To make the hanger, I'm cutting 4 pieces of string into 30-inch lengths. The string I've used is 1.5 mils thick. You could use 1 millimeter, it would be fine if you're using a really small plant pot. And then what we're going to be doing is taking the string and then just folding it in half, which will make it 15 inches. So essentially we're going to have 4 pieces of string that are doubled over, which measure 15 inches. So I purchased these binding rings or split rings from eBay in a bronze colour. These are 35mm diameter, but you could get away with using slightly smaller ones. But these will be great for clipping the hanger onto your car mirror. So next what we're going to do is gather all the pieces of string together, and then we're going to loop it round and tie a knot here. still open the clip, even with the string, over the joint. You're not really going to see this part anyway. So next I'm going to have to hang this on a door or something secure so that I can start making the hanger. So I took this out to my car and hung it on the mirror just to see roughly how far down I wanted to start the first knots. And it's going to be roughly about 4 inches. So I've already made one here, and I'm just going to put this one next to it and use this one for reference. So I'll just tie the knots in the same place. You might have to play around with the distance between the knots depending on what size pot you're using. But the pots I bought are 3 centimeters by 3.5 centimeters, so they are very tiny. And they've even got drainage holes, which is so cute. So I'm just going to go ahead and knot this one up. So we want all the knots to be at the same level. It is a little bit fiddly, especially when it's this small. So we've got our first 4 knots. Next, we are going to take 2 pieces that are next to each other and then take 1 piece of string from each and tie that together. Next we're just going to be tying a knot at the bottom to secure the hanger. You could put more knots in. I did try this with another one, but for the size of the pot it looked like there was way too many knots, so I'm just going to try and keep it simple. You could do something a bit fancier with the macrame. You could add more knots and maybe some beads or something, but I just wanted to keep it really simple. I think if I was using a slightly bigger terracotta pot, I'd probably make it a bit more fancy. The last step is to secure your plant into the pot. I was planning on using PVA glue, but I discovered that mine's completely dried up, so I'm going to be using my trusty old No More Nails. So first of all, you're going to need to cut the wire to the desired length. You can shape the wires so that your plant's kind of hanging over the pot rather than stood straight up. Once you've got your plant positioned where you'd like it, you're going to be gluing it in. We're going to be covering the top of this with sphagnum moss, so I'm just going to add some glue all around the top. I'm just spreading the glue a bit more evenly across the surface. Then all we're doing is grabbing small pieces of sphagnum moss and then just placing it on top of the glue. This glue can take up to 48 hours to fully dry, so bear that in mind. So I would just recommend hanging it somewhere for a couple of days just to make sure that it's completely dry. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this with all the others, and then once they're all finished, I will give you a grand reveal at the end. Thank you so much for watching. Take care everyone, and I'll see you all soon.